I do not desire a bloody throne. As Hunter x Hunter remains on hiatus during its current Succession War arc, let's take a moment to reflect back upon one of the most dynamic and impactful characters introduced during this portion of the series. That is Ninth Prince Halkenburg, my personal favorite of the 14 princes of the Khakeen Empire, only one of which will ultimately survive the Succession War and become the new king. Well, that's the idea anyway, but knowing Hunter's writing and its history, and the fact that it's been alluded to that the king may have ulterior motives for pitting his children against each other, things will probably not turn out so smoothly in the end. More than likely, more than one prince will remain alive, or none of them will. Hell, everyone could die as the black whale sinks into oblivion. But for now, let's focus on Halkenburg and why he is my favorite of the princes, and why he is my pick to, in heavy quotations here, win the Succession War. Halkenburg stands out from most of the other princes, as he at first is not interested in taking part in this twisted death match. Each prince has been granted a Nen beast for protection, but is also in a free-for-all to kill each other until only one remains. It started with 14 princes, and we are currently down to 11. But Halkenburg seems to like all of his siblings, even Serenich, who has been built up to seemingly be the ultimate villain for this arc. Now, I don't believe Halkenburg knows the full extent of what Serenich's murderous tendencies are, but despite this, Halkenburg has admiration for all of his brothers and sisters. Upon learning what the Succession War was all about, he was determined to confront not any of his siblings, but his father, the king himself. And how badass is that? And does that not show the true sense of leadership? Halkenburg goes to the source to eliminate a major threat. He doesn't pussyfoot around or start playing games or making threats or being covert and sneaky. He doesn't send his bodyguards out for assassination attempts. No, he walks right up to his dad to stop this entire thing. Well, to be more accurate, he attempts to for days, but they wouldn't grant him access to the king. That is until Halkenburg, that badass motherfucker that he is, brings a gun with him and forces his way to see the king. We then get one of the best sequences in the entire arc and a pivotal development point for Halkenburg. He points the gun at his father, swearing that he didn't know it would end up in a death match like this. To which the king replies, dealing with the unexpected and figuring out a right answer is part of what it means to be a king. But the thing is, there is no right answer here. And that's what the basis of the philosophical problem is that's happening. What do you do to end the bloodshed? Do you kill your father, kill yourself, or kill all of your siblings? Every answer is horrible, and it can only be one of the three. And in one chapter, Halkenburg fires through every possible outcome and reaches a peak of frustration in that there is no answer. The first one he tries is his father. Halkenburg actually pulls the trigger on the king, which is far above what any of the other princes have done. They all have basked in the petty nature of the war, save for a few like Fugetsu, who has tried to run away, and Wobble, who is literally just a baby. But the bullet Halkenburg fires is stopped midair, implying that the king is part of the Succession War too. Not in the same way that the princes are maybe, but that he also has a part to play. And as we've seen, he does have a Nen beast as well. Halkenburg then, without hesitation, attempts the second answer, to kill himself. But his own Nen beast stops that bullet, effectively proving that Halkenburg is unable to stop the creator of the Succession War or take himself out of it. The man was literally willing to kill himself in order to avoid killing others. That is some powerful force of will, and we know in Hunter x Hunter, strong focus and convictions like this will back up the power of one's Nen. The king points out that there's yet another choice Halkenburg needs to make that doesn't involve them in this room. It's either the people of Khakeen or the other princes. The lives of the few versus the lives of the many. Perhaps this is indeed something all world leaders face, but most do it behind closed doors away from battlefields. Most leaders do not have to get their hands dirty, but here it is framed where the princes have to act out in this war. And since it's a free-for-all, it could turn out that you would only need to wind up killing just one of the 14. Imagine putting your country's leader in that position. Would they do it? If they had to literally make the kill themselves. One life to save millions. Now, this statement is also made over an image of a famous painting depicting Saturn literally eating one of his sons out of the fear of being overthrown. Without accepting and shouldering the burden of karma, you cannot be king. Karma being how the sum of one's actions affects their future. So the burden of karma would apply to how one acts during the Succession War, being able to make the hard choices for the greater good. If that is indeed the lesson the king is trying to pass down, and perhaps the inclusion of this painting doesn't imply that the Khakeen king is willing to eat his own children, but without accepting that burden, one would become ravenous. if the king views this as a necessary moral outlook to have, to sacrifice the few for the many, then in order to not be like Saturn devouring his own children to stay in power, he would need to know without the shadow of a doubt that the one to take his position shares those same values. And so we have the breakdown of Halkenburg. Halkenburg walks out with a deep, determined look in his eyes, one he knows he cannot escape from, to change this entire system, to stop all future succession wars. He will need to become the king, and the only way to do so is to participate. And so Halkenburg takes the step into willingness, not for fun, not to outshine his other siblings, not for wealth, not for revenge, but to further the future of his nation away from the very system having hold of him. Now let's briefly touch on Halkenburg's abilities. He has an incredible intellect and powers of deduction. He was able to get into the world's most prestigious university at the age of only 15, and he is also a world-renowned archer and is stated to have a gravitating personality that will ultimately reflect in his Nen. Halkenburg awakened his Nen ability upon his resolve to participate in the Succession War. He harnessed his aura into a bow and arrow, and upon firing it at someone can take the essence or consciousness of one of his followers and shoot it into the body of another person. The logistics of this are still trying to be determined, but the original body seems to lay in a dormant-like sleep, while their consciousness now controls the body of the arrow's target. As well, this attack seems to be unblockable and undodgeable, meaning Halkenburg must put extreme conditions on it. To which the first Prince Benjamin assumes that Halkenburg stakes his life on the arrow hitting. HunterXHunter lore tells us the higher the risk, the more powerful the ability. Halkenburg has a Nen beast granted to him as well as all the other princes did, each with unique abilities attuned to the prince themselves. For Halkenburg, the beast has been giving out feather markers on the hands of his followers, and so far these markers have been able to increase the output of aura when Halkenburg and his followers are together and share the same wills and convictions, meaning the more people that are loyal and support him, the more powerful they become as a collective unit. Now this is a fantastic trait for a future king to hold. Imagine an entire kingdom loyal to their king, Halkenburg, and collectivity outpouring powerful aura. The extent of which this could mean has yet to be shown, but as Halkenburg delves deeper into the will it takes to complete the Succession War, his followers will as well. If we want to talk the most likely to win the war, assuming it would end smoothly, which we know it won't, I'd have to say it's between Halkenburg, Cernich, Benjamin, and Wobble as the top four. Halkenburg having, I think, the best story and mindset behind it all, Benjamin being a powerful military expert and strategist, Cernich being an absolutely terrifying monster that has been built up as the prime antagonist, and Wobble because, well, he's a baby, and I don't know if Togashi is really going to kill a baby. I mean, he might, but anyways. But more so than that, Wobble also has a bodyguard that is none other than our favorite blonde-haired chain boy, Kurapika, and so the weight of that is going to have some heavy importance. But all in all, I have been absolutely captivated by the Succession War so far, and I am Team Halkenburg all the way. I think the story is being brilliantly told. My only worry is that we will never see an ending. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Halkenburg and the themes expressed through his character? And who is your top pick to win the Succession War? Let me know all those down below. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up because it'll really help me out. Subscribe if you want to stick around for more anime manga content. And check out my Patreon in the description below if any of those tiers would be interested to you. And please consider signing up. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you in the next video.